Hello and welcome. In this tutorial I'll be demonstrating how to use the monitoring interface in Secure Messaging Gateway. The elements we'll be looking at are the login process, what you need to do when you access the monitoring system for the first time to prepare rights to access the information it presents. We'll take a look at the overall interface layout, and then we'll take a look at how to use the dashboards and gadgets. So switching over to my browser, I'm now looking at the main SMG login screen. Depending on your system rights, you'll either be presented with the user interface options available to you, or you'll be redirected straight into the monitoring UI. If, for example here, I log in as admin, I'm presented with the 4 different user interfaces that I have permissions to. However, in this case we're going to be logging in as a user I've created called monitor admin, and this user only has rights to use the monitoring interface. So when I log in here, I'm taken straight through into the SMG monitoring system. The very first time you access the system will be slightly different than the typical entry view. In this case, you'll be given some guidance on the components that need to be configured to get everything ready for normal use. The first step we need to take is providing access rights to the gadgets via the rights management button on the header. We'll discuss these in more detail later, but for now, I'm going to simply set up the system to allow all of my users to access everything available in the system. You'll of course want to apply your own set of permissions based on how your system is accessed. So I'm now in the Rights Manager, and I'm going to press the plus button to add a new group. In this case, I'm going to call it All Gadgets. And with my group selected, I'm going to enable access to all members of my organization and provide them access to all of the gadgets that are available to the system. As you become familiar with the data available to the monitoring system, and depending on the nature of your network environment, you'll want to revisit this page and add groups and assign different features to different users as you require. I can now close this window, and I'm now ready to start populating the user interface. The next step is to create our first dashboard, which provides a page to install gadgets onto. Access the Dashboard Manager with this button on the page header. This and the rights buttons will only be available to users with permissions to access these features. To add a dashboard, click the Create Dashboard button and then fill in the fields. The Shared checkbox is useful when multiple users will be using the system, allowing other users to import a dashboard you've created into their workspace and to have any changes to the dashboard be synchronized across all of the users. This can be changed at any time by the owner of the dashboard. I'm going to call this dashboard Email Traffic, and I can select an icon to identify it easily on my navigation panel. Once the dashboard's been created, it becomes available for use, as we see it in the Available Dashboard column. Each column title can be hovered over to get more information about them. Available dashboards will contain all of the dashboards that are not currently in your workspace that are available to you, those being ones you've created and dashboards that others have shared. To activate a dashboard, drag the dashboard item to the intended location. Items listed in My Dashboards appear only on your workspace. Items listed in the public dashboards will appear on all user workspaces, and they will appear at the top of the dashboard list for everyone. So let's go ahead and put this dashboard into the public space. When you do this, you'll be warned that this is going to be forced onto all users, and in case you're wondering, the public dashboards column only exists for users with the relevant privileges. And to help make the concept here understood, I'll add another dashboard, and we'll call this one Interesting Data. And drop this onto My Dashboards. This interface allows you to activate or shelve dashboards as you see fit. And a final note, the order of items in these lists are how they're presented in the main workspace. Simply drag and drop the items to get the order that suits your needs. We can close this page now, and we see that the dashboards we created are now ready to be used from the navigation panel to the left. This panel can be toggled in and out to get more viewing space if you need it. Let's now select our public dashboard, and we're ready to populate it with gadgets. A gadget is a mini information container that presents data specific to its role. In this version of the monitoring component, there are 3 gadgets available. Login Audit provides historic data about access successes and failures to the SMG UI. Then the node data table and the time series gadgets are used to get statistics and insights into the SMG scan policy activity. The first time you enter this page, you'll select the gadget type. We'll use the time series gadget and give it a name that matches our intent. What the gadgets do will become clear with some use and experimentation. You'll then start creating gadgets with goals in mind and set the label accordingly. For now, we're going to call this gadget mail flow. The extra options are used for sharing gadgets with other users. Hover your mouse over the labels for a description of what these do. Click Create and the gadget is added to the dashboard, and you are presented with a configuration page specific to the gadget you just added. I'm going to skip the relatively obvious options, and as before, simply hover your cursor over the fields to get tooltips on what they do. In this system, I have 2 scan policies configured, one for outbound and one for inbound. To select the data to chart, I need to choose from the list which scan object I am interested in. You'll notice that there are a lot of duplicates in this list. This is because it's listing all configured items from my 2 scan policies. You can filter the list by selecting which policies you want to work with, so let's go with the inbound mail filter. And now I'm only seeing the nodes from that policy. For this gadget, I'd like to chart how much mail has been flowing through the system for the past week and contrast it with how many messages were blocked. Select each of these items from the list and press the plus button to add them to the chart. As you'll have noticed, every node from my scan policy is available to be charted, so you can create graphs of any activity that's of interest to you with this gadget. Press the OK button to save the gadget configuration, and it'll update itself on the dashboard. Now let's add a second time series gadget by pressing the Add Gadget button again. Now that we've got some data in the system, we get some new options. Like the dashboards, gadgets become a collection of resources that can be placed onto dashboards. You can choose gadgets that other people have created and shared, share gadgets across dashboards for different views, or just shelve and reuse gadgets as you need them. When I select Existing, my gadget list is filled with gadgets I can use. Currently, the one I just created. I can also choose to clone a gadget. In this case, I'll get a copy which I can make changes to the settings without affecting existing uses of the gadget, or I can create a new one as I previously did. I'm going to once again create a time series gadget, and this one is going to be called Traffic Trends. Again, I'm going to select the inbound mail policy and add received messages. And now I'm going to add the same data node 3 more times. To the right of each dataset, there is a time offset button. I'm going to add a week to each of the datasets. So this allows us to overlay the same data sources for different time periods to be able to see both trends and abnormalities in the mail flow. It's a great way to get immediate visual cues for situations that need attention. There are lots of ways to use the data sets with this gadget, so go in and experiment with different ways of viewing your own system mail activity. Next, we'll add a data table gadget to get an insight into viruses that the system has stopped. data table gadgets are used to review data content trends. The data is organized using the report type selection, which can be set to order and group the data by frequency or date. As before, select the data source that's of interest. For this gadget, you can only select one dataset. Some nodes do not contain metadata, in which case you'll be informed that nothing is available. Nodes that store data are typically ones that scan discrete pieces of data, such as viruses, IP, email addresses, and such. It's also possible that no metadata has been recorded yet, so you may need to simply have activity flow through your system for some time for some data to be chartable. In this case, we have some viruses that have passed through the system, so we'll select the dataset and click OK. The graph is now showing us the most frequent viruses caught by the system. Gadgets can be modified at any time by clicking the spanner icon on the gadget title. So we can come in here, for example, and change the data reported for our viruses, for instance, to show the most recent viruses caught. If we want the gadget in both formats, we can simply clone the gadget and present the same data in different ways. Let's add the final gadget type to our private dashboard. We'll select New Gadget, pick the gadget type, and give it an appropriate name. For this gadget, we want to change the outcome of the login to fail to see the data we're concerned with. This gadget now gives us the past 7 days of names and IP addresses that have tried to log in and have failed. Now, on this dashboard, I might also want to keep the mail flow gadget always on the screen. To add the mail flow from the top dashboard, again, add a gadget. I want an existing gadget and choose my mail flow gadget. Now when I change dashboards, this gadget that's important to me will always be in my view. If I change the settings on the gadget, these are reflected everywhere the gadget exists, across all of my dashboards and all other users' dashboards if the gadget is shared. And now let me talk about a few nuances of the interface. Gadgets automatically refresh by default every minute. You can pause that if you want to stop a graph scrolling so you can examine the data on screen without it disappearing. Similarly, you can request an immediate data refresh to get the latest dataset information. Gadgets can be moved around the page with this drag handle, and they can be resized. In the first release of this interface, the positions and sizes are not saved, so keep that in mind. Gadgets can be closed with the X button, but take note that this does not delete the gadget, it's just removed from the dashboard. You can add them back in easily with the Add Existing Gadget option. Deletion of gadgets is done within the gadget settings. Removal of a gadget will remove it from all dashboards and for all users. And lastly, this header icon pops up a tooltip to confirm who you are logged in as, followed by the logout button. That's it for this tutorial. I hope it's been of assistance. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.